to Mr. Brian Koch. Brian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jonah. I appreciate you setting everything up today, and welcome everybody to the demonstration of Ingram Micro's Support Service Renewals portal, and I appreciate you joining. And I'm going to begin sharing my screen now, so you guys will be able to see what we have created out there for you. And just as a couple of key points for everybody to know on the phone, the portal is free for everybody to use. The only requirement is to know what your Ingram Micro account number is, and then to also provide an email address so you have a username. And we'll follow up to all the attendees today with an email with the URL to get into the portal. And if you have any questions, you'll be sure you'll have my contact information, and we'll be able to help you out with any questions or concerns that you might have when you get in there and start signing up to use the tool. So with that, thank you. To begin with, this is the landing page that you as a partner would actually see when you come in to use the tool. The landing page is going to show you by default a 60-day arrears view and a forward-facing 30 days of renewals that you would have available for your contractual business. The information that's going to be displayed here is there's going to be quote numbers, there's going to be document numbers, there's going to be end user customer names, service agreement IDs, status of what that quote or contract is it active, is it expired, whatever the case may be. We're also listing out the most relevant serial number or base unit on the support agreement, so you have an idea. Is this service for a server? Is this a renewal for a 3-PAR? Whatever the situation may be. We're giving you visibility to what your pricing is for the overall document. So if you wanted to target opportunities based on dollar values, we can definitely show you how to do that. We're also telling you what the date range is for that particular quote that you're looking at is just on the splash page. Also, down towards the bottom, you'll notice that we also have posted, for your reference, some informational documents. So in a lot of cases when talking with your end users, you might come across or you might be asked, well, what do I get with HPE's next business day support? Or what do I get with proactive services when it comes to HPE? We've included those informative documents down here at the bottom. You can actually export them in PDF format at any point. The links are there for you. With that, I am going to jump back up to the top here. So we've included some different search fields so it makes business easier for you guys to administer. The first search field that we have here is the document ID field. The document ID field is going to be relevant in that that's going to be your quote number or it's going to be your contract number. And when you sign up to use the tool, you will actually also be able to receive notifications as to when a new quote or when a new contract becomes entitled for you. Those notifications will include that number. You'd be able to come in here, you'd be able to search them out and come right into that particular document and move forward with administering it. From a partner standpoint, you would have the ability to come in here and actually filter by different end users. So if you have one end user that maybe you're going to their location to have conversation, you could go through and you could actually pull multiple documents about that particular end user and sit down, and you could also review their environment, maybe do a little bit of planning, whether it be renewal planning, whether it be refresh planning. Either way, the conversation is there to be had. Service agreement ID number is another search field. As the business evolves with HPE, the end users become more and more savvy. A lot of them have picked up on what a service agreement ID number is. It's this 12-digit numerical string. It is a unique value to a distributor, a partner, and an end user opportunity. It won't be replicated between anybody else. And that is a document number that, as an end user, can be referenced when they call in for HPE support. Well, if they have that service agreement ID number, or if you have one that you're aware of that is through Ingram Micro, you could actually come into the tool. You could search for that service agreement ID number and be able to, pull a copy of that document and review it. I made mention of the fact that by default, when we come into the tool, it shows 60 days in arrears and a 30-day forward-looking view of your renewals. If you want to see just the next 30 days, or maybe you want to move 60 or 90 days out into the future, we've actually gone through and we've pre-programmed some of those filters in there for you. So you'd be able to click on any one of those and it would filter the data accordingly. Along with that, kind of same mantra there, is we also give you the ability to sort by custom start dates, end dates. You can pick whatever range. So if there's one particular week in the year or one particular day in the year and you want to see what business is available, or maybe you want to do a 6-month snapshot of what business is available, you can go through and you can apply that custom filter so you can see what's available there. We give you the ability as a partner to go through and manage the business based on dollar values. So maybe you have so many opportunities, you don't have time to look at opportunities that are under $500. Fine. You can put that $500 minimum threshold in there, and you can see everything else that's available out there. The field over here to the right, serial number. As a partner, you'd be able to come in here if you had a particular serial number that you wanted to do a search for and see if there is a renewal quote ready for it or an active contract against it. You can put that serial number here in the tool, and it'll bring you into that document if there is such a document in existence. I skipped over here. What we have is a status field. So this status field, and when I get into the tool a little bit more, I'll show you, is actually meant to allow you as a partner to do a little bit of housekeeping, in that within the tool, we at Ingram Micro, we're not limiting the information that you have available to you. You would have access to any and all old quotes and or contracts, and as a partner, if you want to limit that information that is by default visible to you in the tool, there's actually the ability to go within those documents and kind of disable them so that they don't clutter up your landing dashboard. But that's a responsibility from a partner standpoint. So if you want to administer your business, I'll show you how to do that. And in the event that you maybe need to come back to those documents at a future date, well, we can put a check in the box, but depending on how you filter that information off, and we can revisit it if we need to, so nothing's going to get deleted. The last field that I kind of skipped over here was the ability to do a search based on a product number or product description. So in a lot of situations with HPE and dealing with day one contracts, there is information provided about end of service life on a particular device. Well, in going through and doing these quotes, and if you come across equipment that happens to be listed with an end of service life date, you can take the part number for that particular device, come back into the tool, and now you can search out and you would be able to see what other end users you've sold that equipment to in the past. And now, rather than just a renewals tool, you now have the ability to do a refresh campaign as well, which kind of seems to be a big buzz in the industry, is kind of maintain or farm those end users you've already got and help them manage their IT infrastructure. So we're looking at services right now, and we're quoting out those services. We know the end user has value in those devices, right, because they're keeping those devices under services. Why not have a proactive conversation about refreshing that equipment now? Because you've got an extra layer of, well, you know, the vendor isn't going to be able to support this device after a given date. Here's a nice new, HPE product. And, oh, yeah, by the way, the according or the aligning HP service to go along with that new product to keep the business protected and keep the business moving forward from your end user standpoint. I'm sure they would be very appreciative of that. With that, I'm going to move down on the page a little bit farther here. You'll notice that there's checkboxes along the left side. Within the tool, if we're looking at perhaps dealing with one particular end user, we're going to their location or we're having a phone call and we want to review all of their equipment, the tool allows you to download multiple quotes or contracts at one time. You just put a checkbox in whatever quotes you need to, and if you push download, the tool will prompt you, and that prompt is going to first ask you, do you want to include pricing? Well, depends on the type of conversation you're looking to have. I'm going to check the pricing box just so we can see it. And then it also offers you 3 different ways to export that information. So a PDF document, an RTF document or a Word document, and then last is Excel format. Typically, we see a lot of our quotes go out in Excel format. So I'm going to grab that Excel format just so you guys can see it. And if we give it just a moment here, my system should open up that Excel document. And here we go. And we'll zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. And what you have here is a summary page that the tool creates. Tells you what documents you just downloaded, the AMP IDs for those documents, who's the end user that you're dealing with all these different documents, date ranges, so you've got them, service agreement IDs, AMP IDs, support account reference numbers, so you've got them, and then your cost and list price for the documents in question. Kind of a nice feature, especially when you start getting into opportunities where maybe you have more than 10 documents that you're dealing with, because now you can start adding in reference points or references to maybe help the end user identify what is this equipment on this particular quote. Is it development equipment? Is it production equipment? Is it in a particular warehouse? Whatever. You can kind of start adding in some of those reference points and make the quote that much more relevant to them. And you'll notice here that we've gone through and we've hyperlinked each one of those documents. Again, not necessarily a big deal in the example that I'm showing you here because there's only 4 documents. It's pretty easy to come down here and click on the tabs, right? But if you start getting into 10, 20, 30 quotes, we've had opportunities where there were 400 documents involved in one particular quote. Being able to, move between those documents efficiently and once again capture some sort of a reference so it's relevant to the end customer makes the quoting process that much easier. And because it's an Excel, we can use formulas and things like that to manage the data. I'm just going to click on one so you can see it. It shifts automatically to that quote. This is a detailed quote now, so you'll see all the different line items that make up the opportunity in question. The serial numbers are listed down here, product numbers, the service level. If we expand this column out, you can see the service level that's being quoted out and the type of service that's being delivered on, along with monthly list, total list price, and your cost as a partner. Here's the date range that the service would be quoted for. Up here towards the top, we're actually giving you details about what's involved in the service, so 24/7 parts, labor, phone support, what travel zone is the end customer in, and defective media retention. And if we're all done viewing that particular quote, we can actually come in here, click on the Return to Details tab, and it brings you right back to that landing screen. The last thing that I want to call out is we also have gone through and created a Consolidated Details tab. So understanding that the default Ingram Micro quote format doesn't work necessarily for every situation. We've gone through and what we've done is we've taken all the information that made up all of those different quotes and we've brought it together for you. So you don't have to go through, copy and paste from all the individual tabs. It's already all done for you. If you wanted to turn this document into a pivot table to present to your end customer, by all means, you can customize it and turn it into whatever's needed to fulfill that end customer's need so that they can, advance the business forward. And with that, I'm going to minimize. I'm going to go back into the tool and show you a little bit more here. And we'll click on the details for one of these particular quotes. Now I'm in the HTML view of one of those quotes. And within this HTML view, you'll see we have details of manufacturer part number for the hardware, serial numbers again, kind of more or less everything that was listed on the Excel document we were just looking at, minus we don't give you MSRP within this particular document. We only include that in the Excel exports. We capture the end user's information on a separate tab here, so if you wanted to see who the end user contact was, we've got that broken out. We also will keep a log file. That log file is useful in a couple of different senses. One, in that if you have multiple users within your company that are using the portal, you would be able to see what other users within your company have looked at this quote. Two, if there are revisions made to this quote, you would be able to see the previous versions of the quote So right now the total net is $276 on this opportunity. Maybe in the past it was a $1,000 opportunity, and you wanted to see what did that old quote look like. You would have hyperlinks over here to the old versions of that quote, and you'd be able to export those and compare them and figure out, okay, where's the difference? And is this the quote that I really ultimately need? Selfishly, from a distribution standpoint, I use this function quite a bit because in dealing with Nimble quotes right now, Nimble likes to go in and proactively update quotes without sending us notifications. But we'll have partners that come in and, will grab quotes on their own and work an opportunity only to come back and look, and now the dollars and cents don't match up when we've got a purchase order. Well, we've got to look and see what did the Nimble team do to this particular quote, and then have them undo whatever they did so that we can go ahead and process that transaction and then figure out the next steps for that delta. So it kind of helps us keep people honest or hold people accountable if we're in here making changes without really giving notifications to anybody. I'm going to flip back to the Details tab, and you'll notice up here we do have the ability to download the quote as a one-off. So same thing, you push the download quote button, you'll get a copy of that Excel spreadsheet just for the individual quote. We have a change status button. That change status button, I made mention of the fact earlier that there's the ability to do housekeeping within the tool. So if we're no longer dealing with this particular end user or this particular opportunity is dead, we want to reject it or disable it so it doesn't show up on the default homepage or landing page when you get into it. We can, do that, and next time you log into the tool, that opportunity won't show by default, but we have the ability to get it back. And then lastly, we have the ability to come in here and put in change requests within the tool. So I clicked on to build a new change request. You'll notice my screen changed around, and now down towards the bottom, you'll see the line items that made up that quote previously. They're down here listed with remove buttons. If I wanted to remove one of these items, if I click on remove, you'll see the middle of the page now changes, and there's a request to now delete the line item off of the quote that's been populated. If I come up here and maybe I want to add more products to this particular quote, I come up here and I click on add and I start typing in a product description or a part number, you'll see that now we start getting product numbers that we can add into the particular quote. If we click on add, what's going to happen is now it's going to give me a prompt box where I can submit or I can put in the serial number for whatever device I want to add. I can put in date ranges to quantify when do I need service on this thing. And if I needed a different service package other than what's already being quoted, that 24/7 support, I'd be able to select that. And when I hit the submit button, what happens is the tool is going to generate a notification that comes to your inbox. It also comes to my team here over at Ingram Micro, and we'll begin processing that change request with HPE. The nice thing is that the information is formatted in a way that HPE will just accept the information, so we at Ingram Micro can just forward it into their tool, and HPE will begin processing. Doesn't leave any room for interpretation of, hunting around in an email or trying to figure out what do I need to do here. It spells it out. Here's your adds, here's your deletes, and if there are any, comments as far as maybe I need a different service level quoted out, or maybe I want to combine service agreement ID numbers, we can call those out in the comments field. And it really kind of makes things black and white so that the Ingram team knows what we need to move forward with. I'm going to cancel this. We don't want to submit any change requests right now. And I'm going to go right back to our landing page for quotes. And with that, Jonah, if we want to open up the lines, we'll take some questions here on what we've got developed for the quoting piece of the tool.
Yes, sir, absolutely. If you would like to ask a question, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. As a reminder, you may also ask a question through your web console. Locate the Q&A panel on the right-hand side of your screen, type your question, and click Send to submit. There are no questions at this time, sir. You may continue.
All right. And just to call out, I don't know if I have already or not, The tool is going to be functional only on data that's Ingram Micro specific. So if you've done your request through Ingram Micro, you would be able to use this tool. If you took and processed a transaction with a different distributor, unfortunately, we would not have line of sight. They would not show up within the tools that we're displaying here. All right, I'm going to move into the contractual side of the tool. You guys will notice that the setup of the tool very, very similar to what you were just looking at. The differences being now we have a PO number search field, and also the document ID numbers have swapped over from being, starting with the number 4 to now starting with the number 2. And the difference is now we're essentially dealing with agreements or quotes that have been purchased. So a lot of times once a day one contract is purchased, there's a need for a deliverable to hand off to the end user so that the end user would sign off on final payment. The tool would allow you to come in here and actually look at one or multiple documents, and you'd be able to export that document with or without pricing, once again. Typically what we see within the contractual side of the tool is people exporting things in PDF format. So you've got a nice little deliverable that you can now save off to your machine and then hand off to your end customer as proof of performance. So they can sign off on that payment and kind of close the opportunity out. I'm going to close this out. Same things would apply here. We can still do change requests against active contracts. So if they come in and they no longer want support on a particular serial number, or if maybe they want to add more equipment to it, you can make those same change requests using the tool. Let's see here. Same thing applies with being able to export multiples. You check the boxes. You'd be able to export multiple PDFs. It'll do a clean page for every new document. So when we hit a page break, you'll actually see the document create a new header and spell out the support for that particular end user or that particular document in question. Trying to think if there's anything else that we would need to worry about here on the contractual side of the tool. I don't think so at this point because it so closely mirrors what we have on the quote side of the tool, just trying to make it easy. The last thing that I need to call out is that PO numbers they're not currently PO numbers from your sense, meaning they are not reseller purchase order numbers. They are currently only Ingram Micro purchase order numbers. So if you know an Ingram Micro purchase order number, you can come in here, you can search based on that. Or if you have an HP order number, you could search based on that. But right now it does not have reseller purchase order numbers. That's going to be a future enhancement with the tool. And I'm sorry, the one other bullet point to call out with using the tool is that the contracts that are entitled in here, there's 2 different types of contracts that will be available for you. One would be a contract that you worked as a quote through the day one team and submitted a purchase order for it that way. The other type is orders that are done using HPE's CTO process or configuration to order process. Those CTO orders, when HPE entitles them, will actually trigger a day one contract to be created. So you would be able to come in here and find a copy of the service for that brand new order that you've processed using the Watson tool or the Watson team, and you'd be able to export it. Typically, turnaround times for entitling upfront orders, it takes about 2 weeks after the order has shipped out of HPE's warehouses and hit the end customer's environment for HPE to be able to complete the entitlement for the contracts, just for your reference. And Jonah, at this point, I'm going to take another quick pause. Are there any questions about contracts?
Absolutely. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, simply press star then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. And you may also ask a question through your web console. Locate the Q&A panel on the right-hand side of your screen. Type in your question and click send to submit.
Brian, I think you have some questions in the question and answer panel.
Oh, do I? Hang on one second here. View.
If you like, I can read them off to you.
Yeah, I'm not seeing them on my display.
Okay. The first one is there something we need to do to sign up for this? Gentleman came in late, so I think the answer to that is it's a free tool, and you just need to contact Ingram to get you set up. Isn't that correct, Brian?
That is correct. So following this presentation, I will send the URL out for the tool itself. It's free to use, and all you would need to sign up for it would be your Ingram Micro account number and an email address.
And then the second question is there anything that Ingram can do with HPE to quote renewals with the same support levels as the previous support year, including without DMR if the customer did not want DMR the previous year?
Okay, that's a great question. The answer to that is by default, all renewals that HPE generates, which are 90 to 120 days in advance of their expiration, I'm going to say that we're probably in the 98% range for that. They default coming with DMR on them. That is HPE policy. And if we run into scenarios or situations where we have to get that DMR removed, there's a process that we as Ingram would follow where we have a questionnaire that few simple questions that need to be answered, and then we would submit it over to our HPE team, and then the quote would be refreshed without DMR on it. But unfortunately, by default, all of those quotes are coming over with DMR, and that's been an HPE policy for about 2 years at this point.
Okay, the next question is, can we pull an open or closed contract aligned only to the partner?
All quotes and contracts that you would see as a partner are only going to be yours, meaning you would not have access to any other partner's agreements, and more specifically, as mentioned previously, those agreements would have to be through Ingram Micro as well. So there's a distribution alignment, a partner alignment, and then you as a partner would be able to see all of your end users. Good questions.
We got quite a bit more. Once you get a quote, how do you submit the order? And I don't know if you've gone over that yet, Brian.
I have not. So currently for day one contracts, any purchase orders, so you download the quote and we're ready to order it, you submit all purchase orders over to HPE Day One at ingrammicro.com, and the team there will process the purchase order for you.
Okay, there's one more question. I think you might answer it in the upcoming part of your spiel here. So I think we'll just wait and see if it gets answered, and then if not, we'll answer it at the end. All
right. We'll move forward. The next piece of the tool is going to be our support services renewals. By default here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a few different ways that we can get into support service renewals. The first way is maybe an end user coming to you with just a serial number. So if you click on the support services lookup piece within the tool here, it's going to bring you to the site that you hopefully see in front of you right now. And we can paste in a serial number. And what it's going to do when I hit search is a few different things. It's going to hit HPE's entitlement database. It's going to look for standard warranty. It's going to look for support services. It's going to look for contractual support. And it's going to report all that information back, along with giving me the manufacturer part number for the base piece of hardware. Once it has all that information, it's now going into HPE's, for lack of a better description, the Support Service Central tool, and it's going in and looking up, okay, what are the available renewals if this thing is available for renewal? What are the compatible part numbers to use to renew the service for this particular device? And lastly, once it gets that list of service part numbers to be able to renew, it's then hitting Ingram Micro systems to pull what's your reseller pricing look like for that particular SKU. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. The tool is relatively fast, but I want to spell it all out just because sometimes some of those APIs that we're hitting have a little bit of latency in them. Not always, but I want to call it out just to let you know that there's a lot of different things that are going when you hit that search button. So it's kind of cool. And we'll start right here at the top. So we've got our hardware part number now. You saw that I did a search based only on serial number. It came back to me with hardware part number. I will say that is going to work for you 95% of the time. There is a small percentage of time where the tool might come back and actually ask you for a manufacturer part number if HPE Systems maybe has multiple hits for a serial number, meaning maybe they have 2 hardware part numbers associated to that serial number. The tool just needs clarity which part number I'm actually looking for here. Next, I made mention of the fact that it's going through and hitting HP's entitlement. You'll see here it's spelling out the different types of entitlement. It hits the contractual system. It hits the support service system. It actually tells you over here the different types of service that are in place. You see there's expired date ranges. There's actually active service on this thing as well, which is a good thing to call out here. And also tells you what the previous service levels were that were in place on the device. Now coming down, what we've done is we've only from an Ingram Micro standpoint kind of given you some very simple filters to use. Do I want 24/7 or do I want next business day? And then if there are in and out of warranties and you specifically know, I'm looking for a post-warranty or no, I'm looking for an enhancement warranty, to be able to help you filter that way. We've kept our filters pretty high level so that you can sort through and see all the available options. Now coming down, you'll see the manufacturer product number for renewing the service, the description for it. You'll see that HPE actually recommends some of the different service levels that are available just based on the equipment, right? So typically we see DL360 servers. We're going to recommend that you keep 24/7 or next business day at minimum on these things, just because of their typical function within the environment. And moving more to the right, you've got MSRP, which is list value, and then your purchase price from an Ingram Micro standpoint is going to be displayed right there under the reseller price column. If you want to go ahead and start building out a cart or a quote, you can actually click on Add to Cart, and it's going to say, okay, here's your quote ID that we're starting to work on here. How many do you need? And kind of reiterates the product description. Click on Add. It's going to take and throw it into the cart. Now the tool is going to prompt you, do you want to go into the cart now? Do you want to keep shopping? And I'm hopeful that you're going to want to keep shopping. I'm just going to push close for now so that we can, we'll get to the cart piece here in just a moment. But I'm hopeful that you have multiple items that you're going to want to add. Before I move into the cart piece of it, you'll notice that there are line items that say contact for pricing. So HPE's database for support services, probably 200,000 SKUs plus. We here at Ingram Micro, we probably give HPE about 6,000 SKUs, which covers the vast majority of the orders that we see on a daily basis. But in the event that we don't have something set up already in the tool, if you click on this link for contact for pricing, it's actually going to open up an email that's going to come over to my support services team here at Ingram Micro. They're going to, when they receive that request, work with our catalog team and get that SKU entered into the system. It usually takes about 4 hours, and then you'll be able to pull the pricing right out of the tool. It's just we need to know about it, so that's our kind of intermediate, if you will, to get you the pricing. And we'll let you know when the SKU is created. We'll follow up with an email saying you can log back into the tool and now the pricing is available, or if you'd like, we can just develop the quote for you as well. So we'll give you a few different options. All right. With that, now I am going to move into the carts piece here. So if we flip into carts, you'll see that we've got a couple of items. I've done this demonstration a few times. Got some different serial numbers in here. We've done some different lookups. And maybe we're still not ready to buy this cart, right? We have the ability to download this cart at this point. If we do a download, what we're actually going to be going through is we're going to be going through the process of setting up a quote for an end customer, right? We've got pricing in front of us. I want to get something in front of my end user so that they know what they're looking to buy. You as a partner, you can do your markup. So was it 10 points, is it 15 points, whatever, you can do your markup. And if we hit download quote and give it a second here, it should give me an Excel spreadsheet. And here we go. It's opening up for us. All right. We did. All right, very good. We're going to zoom in here. We have an end user name that we captured on this quote. We've got the date that we started working on the quote, and we've got a date for the expiration because the pricing was just refreshed within the tool so that everybody is aware from an Ingram Micro standpoint when it comes to support services. Our pricing changes at the beginning of the month. HPE sends over a brand new price file to Ingram Micro and says, Ingram, here are your new purchase prices. So our quotes are valid to the end of every month. If you pull into a new month, we're going to have to refresh that quote so that we can see what the new pricing is going to be. What we've got, Ingram Micro SKUs listed on the quote, serial numbers that you were using to develop the quote, the manufacturer part number for the service, quantities, the description for the renewal. We've got MSRP. We've got your cost from an Ingram Micro standpoint, and we've gone through and we've highlighted that yellow just to call it out. So if the intent here is to send something in front of the end customer, if you simply delete these two columns, now you've got something where you just went through, you did a 15% markup based on your cost from Ingram Micro, and you can forward this over to an end customer. And there's also an area within the tool where if you upload your reseller's logo, rather than the Ingram Micro logo be displayed here, we could substitute your partner logo, kind of making it look more official as a quote coming from you as the partner, as opposed to us from a distributor standpoint. So we've got all that information captured. And I'm going to close that out here. Don't save, and we'll go back into the tool. So if the end user is not ready to make an instant decision on it, what we can do is we can demote this cart that we've just created back to being a quote. So it's going to be housed here. If I come back over to quotes, you'll see I've got a couple of quotes that we've saved off in here. You'd be able to come back to it and refresh it or reference it at a future point if you need to. So these are quotes that you're actively building and working on. If I come back now to support service renewals, what you're going to see here, what we did with Ingram Micro is a 5-year look back on all of your orders for support services, and we're in the process of mapping those orders to HPE information. What do I mean? So from an Ingram Micro standpoint, when we're going through and processing these orders, we typically are just asking you as a partner for who's your end user, okay, what products do you want to order, and give me a PO number. We're taking that information and now matching it up with the information that's required once the order is fully processed, right? So what's the serial number of the unit we're supporting, who's the end customer, location, contact, all that great stuff. And we're taking those two data sets and we're working with HPE to merge that information so that you as a partner have all the information that you would need to be able to go through and work a renewal when an opportunity comes up and is ready for renewing. So you'll see here I've got your reseller PO number available. I've got the old Ingram Micro invoice number available. This is the purchase order that Ingram Micro used to buy that service on your behalf with HPE. And here's the contact information that we were able to get from HPE's systems. I'm just going to click into one of these opportunities so you can see more of the detail. Maybe I picked a bad one. That's the disadvantage of doing a live demo here. Hang on. Let's try this one. Okay, so we've got serial number in here. We've got manufacturer part number for the service. We've got the hardware product number. If I click on ship to, here's the end user information that was captured out of HPE system, just to bring everything together so that you have a valid opportunity in front of you. And we're also telling you here's when the previous or the current support ends. If I back up, hang on one second here, folks. And let me try one of these other opportunities. No, I don't think, because I'm in a test account, I don't think I populated a lot of the information. Okay. Well, let's go into the one that was working. If I hadn't already promoted this into a quote, there would actually be a hyperlink over here that would allow me to add the recommended service right here to the cart if I was happy with that recommended service. If not, when I click on that button, there's actually a little drop down to be able to select the different service levels. So the recommended is 24/7. Maybe the end customer wants to downgrade it to next business day. Just like what I had on that initial laundry list of parts when I did my lookup, you'd be able to pick next business day support from that list and move forward with generating the quote that way. And when I come back into quotes, if I'm happy with that particular quote, I can promote it back to a cart function so that I can process an order for it. And yes, you can process orders through the tool. They'll come over to Ingram Micro. You'll actually receive a confirmation number through the tool when the order processes so that you are aware. We would be needing a lot of the fields or all the fields that we have listed in here. So when you go to process the order now, we're going to be looking for end customer company name, address, all that wonderful information. The reason or the logic behind that is that now with processing your orders through the tool, Ingram Micro, we have a team that can help do all these and manage these registrations for you. We'll have all the information. We won't have to go to you as a partner and say, you know, can you provide me this additional information any longer? We've already got it right there at our fingertips. We'll take care of the registration, and we'll give you a notification when the registration is complete so that you can close your books out and give that support service certificate to your end customer so that they have proof of delivery. Also, so that you're aware, I said we did a 5-year look back from an Ingram Micro standpoint. We did capture your end users that you do business with, and we've already started building out address books. So as you go through and maybe you add in new end customers to this form, we're capturing or we're saving those for you so that if you come back and you start typing in Nicholas College again, it'll auto-populate everything else for you. Or maybe we've already got a ticket in there for Nicholas College. You can just simply review that information. Is it accurate? Great. If it's not, just change what you need to change, and then you'd be able to submit the order. And like I said, we would then be able to triage the order with HPE and do the registration for you so that everything would close out. Lastly, let's look here. We've got orders, so you guys are aware. We are exporting orders into the tool. So if you work with your generic sales teams, maybe you're comfortable using your sales teams here at Ingram Micro, and we encourage that relationship. Those orders that you would process through the sales team, they're going to start showing up within the tool. And then any orders that you submit using the tool, we're going to also show those. We just kind of silo them or separate them out so that you can see, oh, yeah, I use the sales team here, or no, I process this one on my own, just for your own internal references. And with that, I believe I am done doing a demonstration for the support services piece. So, Jonah, if you want to open the lines up again for questions.
Thank you, sir. So again, if you would like to ask a question, please press *1 on your telephone keypad. And you may also ask a question through your web console. Locate the Q&A panel on the right-hand side of your screen. Type in your question and click Send to submit.
All right. I'm not seeing any questions. Go ahead.
We had one question. If the customer gives us their contract number, are we able to quote a takeover contract? For example, the customer wants to move their contract to us, a new reseller, or to Ingram as a new disti?
So there is a process that we can follow. HPE has mapped out where we would have to get a letter of authorization signed from the end user. And once we had that, we would be able to work with HPE to transition that information, whether it be distributor to distributor, direct to distribution, or maybe partner to partner. We can follow those procedures, but it starts with getting a letter of authorization from the end customer. Good question.
And I think that's all I see in the question and answer section here.
And we don't have any questions over the phone.
No questions over the phone? All right. Well, I think we finished a few minutes early for everybody. I definitely appreciate everybody hopping on and attending the demo today. And this is going to be, or this has been recorded, and we're actually going to have it posted on our portal as well, so it'll be something you can revisit. And thank you once again for your time.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
As we may have mentioned previously, a recording of this presentation will be made available to your convenience. You may now disconnect.